Football has given us literally thousands of matches over its long history. Some we remember for the shiny trophies lifted at the end, some for truly great goals, and others for legendary players. But only a very select few managed to completely transcend the sport itself. On December 18th, 2022, inside the spectacular Lusail Stadium in Qatar, the world witnessed one of those rare, truly magical events. Today, we're diving deep into the cinematic story of the 2022 FIFA World Cup Final between Argentina and France. So let's get right into it. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly makes a single football match transcend the sport itself? It's a pretty bold claim, right? But as historians and journalists have pointed out time and time again, a true masterpiece requires three very specific ingredients: drama, heroes, and absolute uncertainty. Over the next few minutes, we're going to trace the anatomy of a match that possessed all three of those in staggering quantities. Because this wasn't just 90 minutes of football, it was a heavyweight clash of generations. So, let's set the stage for how this whole epic story kicked off. To really grasp the gravity of what went down, you have to picture the scene. Inside Lusail Stadium, nearly 89,000 expectant fans are buzzing, completely unaware of the historic chaos they're about to witness. And the sheer narrative weight resting on the shoulders of two specific men was just staggering. In one corner, you've got Lionel Messi. He's 35 years old, he's won the league titles, the Champions League trophies, basically every individual award under the sun. He is widely considered the absolute greatest player of his era. But the ultimate achievement, the World Cup, was still missing from his resume. For Argentina, the mission was clear: help him complete football's greatest career. But standing firmly in his way is Kylian Mbappe. Just 23 years old, already a defending world champion from 2018, and the guy clearly destined to dominate the next decade of football. So this wasn't just Argentina versus France. It was a massive passing of the torch duel, the greatest of one era going head-to-head with the greatest of the next. Right from the opening whistle, one team looked sharper, faster, and honestly just far more determined. In the 23rd minute, the immense pressure of the moment rested entirely on Messi's shoulders as he stepped up to take a penalty. And he calmly slots it home, 1-0. The stadium absolutely erupts. But Argentina, they weren't done. Just 13 minutes later, they pull off this absolute masterpiece of a team goal. It starts deep in their own half, passes flowing effortlessly, sweeping across the pitch, until Angel Di Maria finishes it brilliantly, 2-0. By halftime, Argentina had established complete, total control. They had so thoroughly suffocated the defending champions in that first half. Their midfield was dictating literally everything. The defense was incredibly organized. And get this, France, the reigning world champions, managed absolutely zero shots on target. None. They looked exhausted, they looked deeply frustrated, and they honestly seemed entirely out of ideas. But of course, a true masterpiece doesn't end that simply. For roughly 80 minutes, Messi's fairy tale ending felt, well, totally inevitable. Supporters in the stands were already crying, already starting to dream. But then came minute 80. Burn that number into your memory. Because just as that golden trophy seemed destined to fly back to Buenos Aires, football reminded the whole world exactly why it remains so wildly, brilliantly unpredictable. Literally everything changed in an impossible 2-minute explosion. First, right in that 80th minute, France finally gets a lifeline, a penalty. Mbappe steps forward, cool as you like, and scores. It's 2-1. Suddenly, you can feel the belief surging back into the French side. But it's what happens mere moments later that absolutely stunned millions watching around the globe. Mbappe strikes again with a magnificent finish, 2-2. The impossible had just happened. A final that was completely dead and buried had been violently reborn. And Argentina, they were utterly stunned. Which brings us to the most chaotic, immortal stretch of football we might ever see. So the match heads into 30 grueling minutes of extra time. You've got these completely exhausted players pushing themselves way, way beyond their natural physical limits, desperately searching for a moment that will define their lives forever. And the dizzying chaos that followed was just unbelievable. In the 108th minute, Messi finds a breakthrough. He scores, and Argentina leads 3-2. The fans go wild, sensing history is finally actually complete. But nope, football had another twist. In the 118th minute, France earns another penalty. Mbappe steps up, he scores again. A World Cup final hat trick, tying the game at 3-3. What we're watching here is the greatest player of his generation and the greatest young player in the world absolutely refusing to let the other win. And as the final seconds drain away, France launches one last desperate attack. Just pause for a second and really feel the tension here. The ball falls perfectly to France's Randall Kolo Muani. He is suddenly completely through on goal. There are literally only seconds remaining. One shot, one moment, one chance to win the World Cup. He strikes the ball, and Argentina's goalkeeper, Emiliano Martinez, reacts instantly. It was without a doubt perhaps the most important save in World Cup final history. A sprawling, absolutely extraordinary block. Had that ball gone in, France would have won the World Cup right then and there. Game over. Instead, the match survives. That single, instantaneous physical reaction literally changed the entire course of football history. And that insane moment sent us straight into the ultimate test of nerves. We've reached the absolute crucible. Penalty shootouts are completely ruthless. They create immortal heroes, and they create the most crushing heartbreak imaginable. After 120 minutes of exhausting, emotional warfare, it all comes down to kicks from the penalty spot. First up, the two kings, Messi and Mbappe. Both step up and easily convert. The pressure in that stadium is suffocating. Then the momentum shifts. Emiliano Martinez makes a massive save for Argentina. Following that, France cracks under the immense pressure and misses again. Suddenly, Argentina is standing on the absolute edge of glory. One final kick remains. A defender named Gonzalo Montiel steps forward to take it. He scores! Argentina are world champions. The release of tension in Lusail Stadium was totally visceral. The entire arena just erupted. Players instantly collapsed to the grass, crying tears of sheer relief and joy. And after years of absolute heartbreak, painful near misses, and just suffocating expectations, Lionel Messi finally lifted the one trophy that had evaded him his entire life. So, what does this all mean for the history books? Years from now, people might forget the group stage matches of the 2022 World Cup. Honestly, they might even forget the exact statistics of this game, but they will never, ever forget this final. Fans, historians, and journalists all over the world agree this wasn't just a football match. It was a true sporting masterpiece. Because the true mark of a legendary sporting event isn't found on a stat sheet, right? It's found in the raw emotions it forces us to feel. Shock, hope, fear, joy, disbelief. Every single emotion football is capable of producing was squeezed into one single night in Qatar. They'll remember Messi lifting that trophy. They'll remember Mbappe's unbelievable hat trick. They'll remember Martinez's historic save. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. When will football ever produce another story quite like this? You have a legendary veteran finally completing his destiny, a young phenomenon absolutely refusing to surrender, and a match that died and was reborn over and over again. It truly was the greatest World Cup final ever played. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible history behind the beautiful game.